Hi, this is Charles Linden. I want to talk to you about the condition that some people call obsessive-compulsive disorder. Now, I say some people call it this because I don't believe it's a disorder. I don't believe it's a separate condition. I believe it's a symptom of an anxiety disorder. Now, let me explain why. Obsessive thoughts are driven by anxiety. They're driven by the fear of what will happen if you don't have those thoughts, if you don't carry out certain rituals. Anxiety causes obsessive thinking. It also causes a whole range of physical manifestations of your anxiety, such as your heart racing, pins and needles, dizziness, and the things that people normally regard as anxiety-related symptoms. So what happens is, you become anxious. And when you're anxious, your thought patterns change. And you go into this pattern of what-if thinking. What if this happens? What if somebody dies? What if I die? What if there's an accident? And logically, your brain has sorted this into a sequence of events. So you say to yourself, I need a control mechanism. So, if I don't turn this light on and off 20 times, if I don't walk on the street in a certain way, if I don't open and close this door in a certain way, if I don't wash my hands regularly or 5 times in the next 2 minutes, this might be the consequence. And you dream up some kind of consequential happening that could be completely disastrous. You know this doesn't make sense. What lies at the root of this is your anxiety. Anxiety that if you don't do certain things in a certain way, something disastrous will happen. You know that nothing's going to happen if you don't wash your hands in a certain way, or if you don't open and close the door 5 times. You know that, logically, it cannot have that control over things that you have no control over. But your anxiety about these situations drives it. And it becomes habitual. Like anxiety, your obsessive rituals become habitual. They become instincts, they become ingrained deep in your psyche, and you don't feel you have any way of escaping them. And the only way to escape them is to actually carry them out. I've had many people come to me with obsessive thoughts. People who carry out compulsions and people who don't. Obsessive-compulsive disorder drives you to carry out these actions, even when you know they're not logical. Some people just have obsessive thoughts or intrusive thoughts, and sometimes very disturbing thoughts. And these are no less obsessive, they're no less part of the disorder as the actions, as the compulsions. It just means that the logical process of those things isn't carried through to the ultimate action. Lots of people have obsessive thoughts about harming other people, harming themselves. It might even be people that they love very dearly, and they can't get these thoughts out of their heads about doing something awful, even sexual in some cases. And they're very, very disturbing thoughts because people think that they're losing their mind, that there's some sort of psychotic illness going on. There isn't. This is all driven by anxiety because your brain has the ability, the natural suggestibility and the natural intelligence to dream up these situations in your subconscious and present them to you consciously. Now you know consciously that these are absolutely crazy, but they're not based on mental illness. They're based on anxiety. And if you remove that anxiety, these obsessive thoughts can't exist. Quite literally, they'll be taken away. They'll be removed, eliminated 100% as soon as you release the anxiety. So let me recap. Obsessive thoughts, compulsive actions, unwanted disturbing thoughts. All of these things are fueled by anxiety. If you remove the underlying anxiety, all of these things go away. And just to reiterate again, obsessive-compulsive disorder doesn't exist. It can't exist as a standalone condition. Without anxiety disorder, OCD can't exist. Now I hope you understand this because this is very, very important. It's key to you becoming completely anxiety-free and key to you completely eliminating your obsessive thoughts. So anxiety disorder drives obsessions. It's what causes you to carry out your compulsions. It's what drives the intrusive thoughts. Now, what we've got to do is then work on the anxiety disorder. And the anxiety disorder is the core of this condition. And as I said to you, if you remove the anxiety disorder, and I hate this term disorder. I don't like using the term disorder. It's something that the medical profession has given to these conditions. They're not disorders. Disorders are illnesses, and this isn't an illness. You're neither mentally or physically ill. You have a behavioural condition. Your brain has become reset at a new level of anxiety. And because it's become reset, it's causing all of these symptoms and sensations and thoughts and compulsions. But that isn't a disorder. So what we have to do is reprogram your subconscious mind and have it realise that anxiety is driving your compulsions and your thoughts. Undermine the anxiety, remove the anxiety, and everything will just fade away. And I can say this from absolute experience because I have treated thousands of people who have mild intrusive thoughts and who have extreme obsessive compulsive disorder. And when I work with them to remove the anxiety, all of those things disappear. So where's it stored? Very simply, there's an organ in the brain called the amygdala. I'm sure you've heard me talk about it before on the website and on the other CDs and in the manual. The amygdala is the thermostat for the anxiety reaction in the subconscious mind. It's a physical organ that controls your anxiety levels. And what happens is, due to financial stress, work stress, emotional stress, bereavement, whatever, in fact sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what the catalyst was for an anxiety disorder, but for whatever reason this amygdala has become reset at a higher than normal benchmark level of anxiety. Now your mind thinks that this is completely normal, but consciously you know that you're not behaving normally, and you're experiencing all of these symptoms that are driving you crazy. So the amygdala is the thing that we need to address. Now the problem with the amygdala is that we can't consciously reach it. We can't actually feed it medication or go to talking therapy like cognitive behavioural therapy, for example, or traditional therapy. This won't reprogram it. It can't, because you can't talk to the amygdala directly. The only thing that it understands and the only thing that can affect its behaviour is the legwork that you do in your routines every day. It's been trained to be anxious. Now we have to untrain that mechanism. And we do this very simply by removing the anxious behaviour that you carry out every day to support the anxiety. And this will have the knock-on effect of removing your compulsions, removing your obsessions, removing your unwanted thoughts. And it really does work. I've seen it so many thousand times now. Now the way that you do this is by using the Linden method. And it doesn't matter whether you call it the blue method, the purple method, or the Linden method. It's a name that I give it because I developed the structure that is the Linden method. But the Linden method is something that all anxiety sufferers have done. All recovered anxiety sufferers have used the Linden method, no matter what they've called it, whether it's been consciously or subconsciously, they have used this method to remove their anxiety. There is not one case in the world of a recovered anxiety disorder sufferer having done anything but what the Linden method teaches you. It's the roadmap to anxiety relief. I promise you that. So you have to have that belief, and it is fact, it's scientific fact. So what you need to do now is do the Linden method, implement the 9 pillars, remove the anxiety, and you do this by challenging yourself every day, removing the anxious habits that drive every second of your day. Undermine it, because at the end of the day, the anxiety only causes sensations, it doesn't cause symptoms. Symptoms are something that are associated with illness. They're a warning sign that there's something wrong with you. That isn't the case in anxiety. Whether it's your obsessive thoughts, your actions, whether it's compulsions, whether it's a rapid heartbeat, shaking, sweating, panic attacks, whatever the sensations are that you attribute to your anxiety, they are not symptoms of physical illness. So undermine them, because they mean nothing. They're as important as an itch in the centre of your back that you can't reach. Irritating, but harmless. So let's just go back to a couple of the stages of what I want you to do here. Read the Linden method pack in its entirety. Understand what anxiety is. Understand where it's stored. Understand how it affects you. Understand that the symptoms are actually only sensations. Understand that you're physically very, very well, but you have an anxiety disorder, and that is what's driving your obsessions and your compulsions. And by doing this, you undermine the underlying anxiety disorder, and you will remove all of your obsessions. If you need any support as you're going through the Linden method, you know where we are. Only contact us if you really need to. I don't say that because we don't want to hear from you. I say that because the pure action of getting support means that you're actually supporting your anxiety, that you're acknowledging that you have anxiety. Don't give your obsessions, your compulsions, and your anxiety any more credibility. This is the turning point. This is the day that you have decided that they have absolutely no meaning and no function in your life. And this is the day that you start to get rid of them. And you will, I promise you that. Contact us if you need to. You know where we are. And let's move forward now. Let's undermine your anxiety disorder and eliminate it today. Take care.